everybody, and welcome to a video by Stan's Auto Repair. And today we're doing the tune-up 07 PT Cruiser. This pretty much covers 2000 all the way up to 2010 PT Cruisers, except it's a slight bit different for the GT models with the turbo because they have the aluminum intake instead of the plastic. But in order to do this, just in case you've never done it before, there's a few things you need to do, because you got to take the upper intake off. And tune-ups for these engines do cost a slight bit more than, say, like doing a tune-up on a Neon. The wires and coil pack have already been done on this vehicle, so I didn't get the wires or coil pack because because they've already been replaced back when this vehicle, when I first got it, and it was a no start. So in order to get this off, there's a few things you got to do. One, your PCV valve, you need to unhook the hose from here, unhook your booster hose that goes to your brake booster, undo your throttle body linkage, which connects right here, which a little flathead screwdriver, something like this, push the tab in and it'll slide out after you open your throttle up and whatnot. You're going to want to remove your air boot from here. You don't necessarily have to take it off like I did, where I disconnected it here and here. I just did that to get it out of the way so it's not still hanging here. Then you're going to want to release the vacuum line, the top vacuum line, which is this one right here from the top of your throttle body. Disconnect your plug from your IAC, disconnect your plug from your throttle body sensor, disconnect the plug from your map sensor. This one could be a little bit tough, especially been on there, so just get a little flathead screwdriver and just kind of work it to break it free, because let's see if I can just get a plug. The rubber like seal sometimes gets seized on there. Then back here, you'll have a tree that you need to push out, and then right here you'll have a 13mm bolt that you need to unthread. Get that out. Then you'll have 8mm bolts up here in the front, which is also, if you don't have millimeter, which is also 5/16. And then once you do that, it comes right off. Go ahead and inspect it, because sometimes these do develop cracks over time. Be careful not to drop it. The last thing you want to do. Oh, and if you have a vacuum leak, check your little vacuum. Check that little thing right there. Make sure that's not cracked, because that can cause a vacuum leak. You're going to want to get intake gaskets while you're at this for the upper. If you feel monkey enough to do the bottom one, make sure you have a bottle of antifreeze, because you're going to have to remove your hose here if you want to get better access, because the bolts are right back down in there. I'm not gonna go that route, but as you can see, it needs it. But I'm also doing a valve cover, because this valve cover is leaking pretty good. In order to do that, you're going to need to release the bolt back here, which I believe, yeah, I just have the one because I could not get the other one to line up and get in there, so I just have the one. You're going to need to unloose the bracket to for the power steering pump. And from there, let's see, I think, yeah, your valve cover bolts are also 5/16 or 8mm. And if you're wondering what this was the vacuum line that ran down here. I no longer have the filter that sets inside here, so I just deleted it and got one of these little small air breathers. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get to work here. I'm gonna get my air compressor going so I can blow all this gunk out, because I don't want to get gunk down inside of there, because as you can see, there's quite a bit, some dead bugs and stuff. But alrighty, y'all, I will show you as we go. Not gonna like record any of me doing any work, because it takes a little bit longer. I'll explain it the best I can. So the next thing we got to do, like I was saying, is get this bolt back here. If I remember right, it's a 10mm. And then you have 3 in the front, 1, 2, 3 in the back, and 2 on the top for your valve cover. You are going to need to remove your coil pack to get to the bolt that's back here behind it. So if your plug isn't broke like mine is, go ahead and unplug your bolt. If anybody's wondering what this is for, this it's on the back of your engine. That's a noise reducer in a sense, so you don't get a lot of feedback when you're using your radio. All right, so I'm gonna get to that and see you in a bit. Okay, I've already busted loose all the valve cover bolts, but I went ahead and pulled the spark plugs, and not a lot of oil. Number 4 did have some oil on it, but these ones pretty dry. There's a little bit of oil on number 1, but if you get a good look, there's no electrode on cylinder 1. Cylinder 2 there is. Cylinder 3 no electrode, and cylinder 4 spark plug, yeah, it doesn't look good at all either. So that would, you know, explain some of the pit putters and misfires and sometimes the stall outs. But so it definitely need of a tune-up. So I'm upgrading it to the E3 spark plugs. There's the part number E3.66. These are the official spark plugs of the NHRA, Diamond Fire Technology, Ecology, Energy, Efficiency, and 5-year warranty on these. So they definitely, you know, they say they give more power and they help save gas. That's what they look like. Let's see if I can get one out. I'm not putting these in right away. Don't remember how much these cost. Apologies. I bought these a while ago. But there's the spark plug. Man, focus. There she is. And let's get a close up. There we go. There's your, there's no gap. There is no gapping this. But by looking at that gap, it looks like it's about a 35 or so. Yeah, pretty nice. These are the NG These ones are the NGK LZTR 5A GP. These ones are specifically the Japan. This is typically what, what most people run in these. These are the spark plugs that were replaced, because the spark plugs that were in here were the cheap Bosch, and I do not recommend Bosch plugs to run on these vehicles. Normally the NGK, the Champion. I am trying out the E3s 66 because my job requires me, I'm on the road constantly, so a little bit more power, a little bit more gas saving, which kind of makes no sense. More power, and typically you use more gas, but I guess if you want to be a little bit more economic, a little bit of gas saving for easy driving sounds right, but then when you need some power, you got your power. But Felpro MS93219 is your intake gaskets. These triangle style are for the lower intake, and the kind of like rectangle style is your upper, which is the only ones I'm going to be replacing today. I will do my lower at a later date. If I would have had this, I would have done that when I was changing out the radiator and everything. It would have been easier to get to. And then here is your valve cover and grommets, or grommets per se, for around these spark plugs. There is no, ooh, it's one of them biting ants. Yeah, definitely don't want that. But anyways, there is no grommets like these grommets here, so I didn't buy any for some odd reason. I don't know why, but by looking at the ones that are here, as long as I'm oh no, I had already replaced these. That's right, when I was working on the engine before. Yeah, I went ahead and replaced these grommets because I already had some. And by looking at, around the bolts, I don't see a lot of oil. I mean, there is oil around here, but that's from dumping from here. But other than that, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this valve cover off, and then I'll come back and I'll show you a couple spots where you need to put some silicone per se. It's the black silicone that's used for oil valve cover gaskets, which I have some, and I'll show it to you once I go get it out. Other than that, this isn't too bad of a job. It takes a little bit of time, especially if you're, not done this before. The spark plug is a 5/8. Mine does have the little rubber inside, so I can, pull the spark plug out. But if you don't have the little rubber inside your spark plug socket, just take one of your boots spark plug wires, and you can pull your spark plug out with that. I don't believe these require anti-seize, but I will definitely look and find out, and if they do, then typically just a little bit of anti-seize on, oh, let me get you in camera here, focus. Typically just a little bit of anti-seize, just a little bit on the spark plug threads, but make sure your spark plugs, if your spark plug says no anti-seize needed, don't use it. But if it doesn't say it at all, just a tad bit on there, that will keep your spark plugs from getting seized inside there. All right, okay, this is a retake because for some odd reason my phone didn't rotate. But again, small oil leak over here and along the back. Now when you go to do your little make a gasket, which is the black silicone, you can get it in a tube. You're going to want to put a little bit here in the corner here, along right here, and then some right here, back here, and then also right here is where you're going to want to put it. And you can see by some residue right here that it was leaking there, and you had a very small leak cylinder 1, but cylinder 4 was the best. Okay, here's the valve cover itself. You're going to need to replace these here and this here. You do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 valve cover bolts, and they all have little like donut shaped grommets on them. I'm not replacing those, so I'm not going to pull the bolts out because I don't want to damage or rip them at all. But those grommets typically don't leak, but they will leak, especially if, you know, your valve cover fails around the area. But you can see where the silicone was on this. But so that's that. I'm gonna work on now getting this cleaned up, that cleaned up. I'll apply I call it silicone because, you know, it's not really silicone per se. You know, silicone is typically what you might use around your window or your tub, but it's a valve cover sealer, or some people call it a gasket maker. Some vehicles like the Chevy Cruise, that's the only thing you can use on the oil pan because it don't have an actual gasket, which I will show you that stuff, like I said previously, once I get to that point. So I will holler at y'all here in a bit and see you. Okay, everybody, when you get ready to put on, you know, do your valve cover, this is the stuff I'm talking about. Ultra black gasket maker, oil resistant. If you've used it before, sometimes it gets clogged up and then clogged in there, so you can just poke like a little hole in the side there to get some out, and then, you know, it'll dry up, seal back up. But as you can see, I got some there, 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 and there. I'm kind of letting that tack up a little bit. You can do that while you're putting on your valve cover. Goes on like that, and then this is for the center. The hump per se goes down, and then the flat part is up. So you'll want to set it in there. I normally do this with my left hand. Even though I'm right-handed, I use my left hand for a lot of stuff. And then kind of rub your thumb around it to get it set in. Make sure everything is flush, lined up. Do the same thing, you know, with your actual valve cover gasket itself. And that sealant that I'm talking about is going to be right here, right here, right here, right here, and then along here. So then once you're done with all that, and if you're replacing your little grommets, they're down underneath that, right down there. You can kind of see that white there. And I don't know, I didn't notice this but last time, but previous person that had done this, because this has definitely been replaced. As you can see, it's blue, so it's definitely it's the same brand, Felpro. But for some odd reason, they put sealant along right here, and as you can see, there's little teeny pinholes right through there, and that's where oil transpires through. So I don't know why they would have done that, but when you go to set this back in, you can grab it like this, get it behind your transmission dipstick, and then set it down, kind of wiggle it in place. You know, it's set. And I like to let it sit like that for a minute. That way that sealant can kind of go down. But while I do that, I just go ahead and start working on this. Okay, it's kind of snug, so I'll start there. Then I'll go to this one. And yeah, you want to do this by hand. You don't want to use a impact or a drill. All right, then I go over here. And the reason why you're going in the zigzag, per se, like this, is you want this to smooth down evenly. Last thing you want to do is get your gasket and, you know, tighten it this way or just tighten it that way, you know, boom, 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 boom. You're gonna pinch it, which you don't want to do that. You want your gasket to evenly sit up. Man, my wrist is getting tired. Whew. Okay, so I went there, here. Well, actually I went here, 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 here. Now I'm going to go to here. Okay, then I'm going to go to here. Then here. There is torque spec for this. I don't know it, I'll be quite honest. I tried looking it up online and it's in inch pounds. And I don't have a torque wrench in inch pounds, and when it converts into torque, it doesn't come out correctly. So go ahead and tighten it down. Give it a few minutes, you know, that way everything kind of seals up, especially in those corners, because last thing you want is to do this job and then have leaks in your corners. And I like when they bring this Mountain Dew out, because Whiteout is my favorite, but Whiteout is now sold in my area. I had to buy some bottles off of eBay. They were out of date, but still, you know, they wasn't bad. Paid a little bit more for 3 bottles of Whiteout than you typically would like at a gas station, but it's just how it is. All right, while that's doing that, and go ahead and drop your spark plugs in. And these they don't say not to use anti-seize, so I'm gonna go ahead and dab some anti-seize, just to dab a little bit on each spark plug, drop them in there, and then tighten them down. And I'll be okay. Thread the drop your spark plug tubes down in, then thread them in by hand without using your socket. Once you get them, you know, tight, get your socket, snug it down, back it here, and then just a little bit. Go to the next one. Good. Next one, quarter turn. the last one, which is a little more. Okay. Now those are done. Now we can go to the valve cover. All right. This time I'm going center here. Then the out 4 corners. Just tighten it till it gets snug. Last thing you want to do is over torque it. Then center one. Oh, socket's still on that one. There we go. Then after that one, go to this one over here. Okay. Then this one in the back. Okay. And we'll go back over here. Okay, that's snug. 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 That's snug. I've changed quite a few valve covers on these engines, so I kind of got the, me personally, I have the feel. Okay. Then we'll go over here. Okay. Go to this one. Okay. And last but not least. All right, that's done. Next is this, your intake. Okay. Small little, yeah, no good. They normally don't come out that easy. Wow. Okay. And they're covered in oil. Fingers off. That's the part number right there. I don't need that now. Get one out. Okay. While I got this down, I'm gonna okay, Oh yeah, I definitely need to clean that IAC. Let's get a look inside. Yeah, a lot of oil, but not really fresh. Not really fresh oil, which is good. Yeah, the bottom's pretty dry, so definitely gonna take this IAC off before I put this on and give that bad boy a clean. But as you can see, this is new. Yeah, I did replace the IAC, so it's probably dirty. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that off and take a look at it. Okay, when you're putting your intake back on, go ahead and thread your 13mm bolt back in there. Don't tighten it all the way, but you know, thread it in. That way your intake's level. Then do the same thing per se like you're doing on the valve cover. Get the ends, get it by hand. Snug it. Your center one, because you want to do the same thing when you tighten this down. You don't just want to go straight across or whatnot. You want to kind of zigzag. That way the gaskets lay down evenly. And you know, you don't really have to have a lot of knowledge when it comes to doing this, you know, just as long as you have some smarts. You know, if you can drive your car and put gas in it, whatnot, you definitely can do this. Okay, then same thing. Snug. Because the last thing you want to do is crack your intake. It is plastic, so you don't want to over snug it. Just tighten it till it feels tight. And then once you, yeah, see, like that one's now loose. And they will loosen up, feel looser, you know, as you tighten it down. But, and then go through it over again. One last time. All right, then tighten down your 13mm bolt and then put everything back together. Make sure everything's plugged in. If you do have a check engine light on, go ahead and clear your check engine light. If you have a scan tool, that's the best way to do it. If you do not have a scan tool, disconnect your negative terminal on your battery. Wait 30 seconds, then put it back in. If that doesn't clear it, because sometimes it don't, you're going to need to loosen up, take off your negative and your positive for 30 seconds. You can hold the two together for 15 seconds. That will clear any juice in the system out. It will drain it, and then hook everything back up and you'll be good. You will have to reset your clock. Sometimes your memory gets lost on your radio, so you might have to reset your channel stations and so forth, so on. But if you just take those steps and go from there. Again, I was having codes for the IAC, the throttle bottle position, the map sensor, but after seeing my spark plugs, I'm gonna see if the codes come back, you know, and since everything wasn't firing right, you know, it's a little too lean, little high on the fuel. I noticed I was using more fuel, and after seeing the spark plugs, that definitely explains why. Some hesitation when driving, you know, misfires. Well, by the look of those spark plugs, they kind of explain themselves what's going on. But that's how you do a tune-up. And the reason I did the valve cover with this tune-up is because the valve cover had not been done in a while. So when you do the tune-up, you want to get your spark plugs, your wires, and your intake gasket. You at least want the upper intake gaskets. And if your valve cover hasn't been done, or you notice it's leaking while you have it off and you're doing your tune-up, go ahead and do your valve cover at the same time. And when you put your power steering bolt in, that one bolt I did show you, that one, you can actually, you know, just use that one. You don't have to put both in. I've only had one on holding that up there, and I've not had any issues. So thank you all for watching. If you have not subscribed, please do. And as I always say, if it's broke, fix it. Now I'm gonna have fun getting this PVC hose back on here, because it was a pain getting it on, because it's the diameter is a little bit smaller, but this is the PVC hose that is the replacement. Anyways, all right, thank you all for watching. Take care. Subscribe, comment below, give the video a like, share it. You know the drill. This is YouTube. And remember, broke, fix it.